The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, a silent void punctuated by the faint glimmer of distant stars. On the desolate surface of the moon, the lunar observatory stood as a solitary beacon of human ingenuity, its domed structure glinting under the cold, unyielding light of the sun. Inside, Dr. Elena Carter sat hunched over her console, her sharp blue eyes scanning the streams of data flowing across the screen. The hum of machinery filled the air, a constant reminder of the delicate balance between humanity's reach and the infinite unknown that lay beyond. Elena was no stranger to the mysteries of the cosmos. For over a decade, she had dedicated her life to unraveling its secrets, her work at the forefront of astrophysics earning her accolades and respect. But tonight, something was different. The data before her was unusual. A faint rhythmic pulse had appeared in the readings, a signal so subtle that it had almost gone unnoticed. At first she dismissed it as interference, a glitch in the system. But as the hours passed, the pattern persisted, growing stronger, more defined. Her heart quickened as she leaned closer, her fingers flying across the keyboard to isolate the source. The signal was coming from deep space, far beyond the reaches of the solar system. Its origin was a star system she had studied before, a nondescript cluster of celestial bodies light years away. But this was no natural phenomenon. The pulses were too precise, too deliberate. They carried a cadence that spoke of intention, of intelligence. Elena's breath caught in her throat as the realization dawned on her. This was no ordinary signal. This was a message. Her mind raced, a torrent of questions flooding her thoughts. Who or what could have sent it? What were they trying to say, and why now? She knew she had to act quickly. Grabbing her comm device, she dialed the number she had memorized years ago, her fingers trembling slightly as she waited for the connection to establish. "Commander Patel?" came the crisp, authoritative voice on the other end. "What's the situation, Dr. Carter?" Elena took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Raj, I need you to listen carefully. I've detected a signal. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. I think it's artificial." There was a pause, the silence heavy with implication. "Are you certain?" Commander Raj Patel's voice was calm, but Elena could hear the undercurrent of tension. He was a man who had seen the best and worst of humanity's ventures into space, a seasoned leader who had faced crises that would have broken lesser men. If anyone would understand the gravity of this discovery, it was him. "I'm certain," Elena replied, her voice firm. "The pattern is too consistent to be natural. I've already ruled out all possible sources of interference. This is real, Raj, and it's coming from deep space." Another pause, longer this time. "Understood. I'll convene the team. We'll need to analyze this thoroughly before we make any decisions. In the meantime, keep this under wraps. The last thing we need is a media frenzy." Elena nodded, though she knew he couldn't see her. "Understood. I'll start preparing the data for analysis. But Raj, this could change everything." "It already has," he replied, his tone grim. "I'll be in touch." The line went dead, and Elena set the device down, her mind still reeling. She turned back to the console, her eyes fixed on the pulsating signal. It was as if the universe itself was reaching out, a whisper from the void that demanded to be heard. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, that the signal was a harbinger of something far greater and far more dangerous. Hours passed as she worked, her focus unwavering. She isolated the signal, amplifying it to reveal its intricate structure. The pulses were not random. They followed a complex sequence, a language of sorts. But it was unlike any language she had ever encountered. It was mathematical, yet lyrical, a symphony of numbers and patterns that hinted at a mind far beyond human comprehension. As the first light of Earth's dawn crept over the lunar horizon, Elena's comm device buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Raj. The team was assembled, and they were ready to begin. She gathered her data, her hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This was it. The moment she had spent her entire career preparing for. The moment that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. The journey to ICEA headquarters was a blur, the familiar corridors and checkpoints passing in a haze of anticipation. When she finally stepped into the briefing room, she was met with a sea of faces, each one a leader in their respective fields. Commander Patel stood at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. Beside him was Liam Harper, a young prodigy whose work in signal decoding had already made waves in the scientific community. His dark eyes sparkled with curiosity as he greeted Elena, his enthusiasm palpable. "Dr. Carter," he said, extending a hand, "I've read your work. It's an honor to be working with you on this." Elena shook his hand, offering a small smile. "The honor is mine, Liam. We're going to need your expertise if we're going to crack this." The room fell silent as Raj called the meeting to order. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice commanding attention, "we are here today because of a discovery that could very well change the course of human history. Dr. Carter has detected a signal from deep space, one that appears to be of artificial origin. Our task is to analyze this signal, decode its message, and determine its implications. This is a matter of utmost urgency and secrecy. The world is not ready for this, not yet." Elena stepped forward, projecting the data onto the large screen at the front of the room. The signal's rhythmic pulses filled the space, a visual representation of the mystery that had consumed her. "This is what we're dealing with," she said, her voice steady. "The signal originates from a star system approximately 150 light-years from Earth. It's highly structured, with a repeating pattern that suggests intentional design. Our first priority is to decode its meaning." Liam leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the data. "It's almost beautiful," he murmured, "like a piece of music. But there's something else, something urgent." Elena nodded. "Exactly. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't just a greeting, it's a warning." The room erupted into a flurry of activity as the team began their work, each member bringing their unique skills to the table. Hours turned into days as they pored over the data, their efforts fueled by a shared sense of purpose. Slowly, painstakingly, the signal began to yield its secrets. The pulses were not just numbers, they were coordinates, maps, and equations. They pointed to a distant corner of the galaxy, a region of space that had long been shrouded in mystery. But there was more. Embedded within the signal was a message. A single word repeated over and over again. It was a word that sent a chill down Elena's spine, a word that carried with it the weight of an entire civilization's desperation. Run. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Whatever had sent this signal was not just reaching out, it was pleading, and if they were warning humanity to run, then what were they running from? Elena's mind raced, her thoughts a whirlwind of fear and determination. They had to know more, they had to understand, but as she looked around the room, she saw the same realization dawning on the faces of her colleagues. This was no longer just a scientific endeavor. This was a race against time, a battle against an unknown threat that could be hurtling toward them at that very moment. And so, the work continued. The team driven by a sense of urgency that bordered on desperation, the signal was no longer just a curiosity, it was a lifeline, a thread connecting them to a reality far beyond their understanding. But as they delved deeper, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for their next move. For Elena, the weight of it all was almost too much to bear, but she knew she couldn't falter. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depended on their ability to unravel the mystery of the signal. And as she stared at the pulsating patterns on the screen, she made a silent vow. No matter what it took, no matter how far they had to go, they would find the truth, even if it meant staring into the abyss. The air in the ISEA headquarters was thick with tension, a palpable weight that pressed down on everyone in the room. The signal, once a distant whisper from the void, had become an all-consuming enigma, its secrets tantalizingly close yet maddeningly elusive. Dr. Elena Carter stood at the center of the storm, her mind a whirlwind of calculations and hypotheses. The word run echoed in her thoughts, a haunting refrain that refused to be silenced. What were they running from? And how much time did they have? The team had worked tirelessly, their efforts fueled by a mixture of fear and determination. Liam Harper, the young prodigy, had taken the lead in decoding the signal's intricate patterns. His fingers danced across the keyboard, his eyes locked on the screen as he unraveled layer after layer of the message. The pulses were not just a warning, they were a map, a guide to something far greater and far more dangerous. "This is incredible," Liam murmured. his voice barely above a whisper. "The signal isn't just a message, it's a blueprint. There's something here. A structure, a machine maybe, but it's like nothing we've ever seen." Elena leaned over his shoulder, her eyes scanning the data. The screen displayed a series of complex diagrams, their shapes and patterns defying conventional understanding. It was as if the signal was trying to communicate not just with words, but with concepts, with ideas that transcended language. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the magnitude of what they were dealing with. "We need to bring in Dr. Zhang," she said, her voice firm. "If anyone can make sense of this, it's her." Commander Patel nodded, his expression grim. "I'll make the call, but we need to move quickly. Every second counts." Dr. Mei Zhang arrived within hours, her reputation as a linguist and cryptographer preceding her. She was a woman of few words, her sharp intellect and keen intuition making her one of the most sought-after minds in her field. As she entered the room, her eyes immediately locked onto the screen, her curiosity piqued by the strange patterns displayed there. "Fascinating," she said, her voice calm but laced with excitement. "This isn't just a language. It's a symphony, a fusion of mathematics and art. Whoever created this was trying to convey something beyond mere information. They were trying to evoke an understanding." Elena nodded, her respect for Dr. Zhang growing with each passing moment. "We think it's a warning, but there's more to it. We need to know what they're trying to tell us." Dr. Zhang took a seat, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she began to dissect the signal. The room fell silent, the only sound the soft hum of the machines and the occasional murmur of conversation. Hours turned into days as the team worked, their efforts a desperate race against time. Slowly, the signal began to yield its secrets. The diagrams were not just blueprints, they were instructions. They pointed to a distant region of space, a place where the fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist in ways that defied explanation. It was a place of immense power, a place where the laws of physics, as humanity understood them, no longer applied. This is a gateway," Dr. Zhang said, her voice trembling with awe. "A portal, but not just any portal. This is a bridge between dimensions. Whoever sent this signal was trying to warn us about something on the other side." Elena's heart pounded in her chest as the implications sank in. A gateway, a bridge between dimensions. It was the stuff of science fiction, a concept that had long been relegated to the realm of fantasy. But here it was, laid out before them in stark, undeniable detail. "What's on the other side?" Liam asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Zhang hesitated, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's coming, and it's not friendly." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the full extent of the danger they were facing. This wasn't just a warning, it was a plea for help. A desperate cry from a civilization that had seen what lay beyond the gateway and had barely survived to tell the tale. "We need to act," Commander Patel said, his voice breaking the silence. "We need to prepare. If this thing is coming, we need to be ready." Elena nodded, her mind racing. "We need to build it, the gateway. If we can open it, maybe we can find a way to stop whatever's on the other side." The team sprang into action, their efforts now focused on a single, monumental task. The blueprints were complex, their design requiring materials and technologies that pushed the boundaries of human capability, but they had no choice. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depended on their ability to succeed. Days turned into weeks as the project progressed, the team working around the clock to bring the gateway to life. The tension in the air was palpable, a constant reminder of the stakes they were playing for. Elena found herself haunted by the signal, its pulsating rhythm a constant presence in her thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for their next move. And then, finally, it was ready. The gateway stood before them, a towering structure of shimmering metal and glowing energy. It was a thing of beauty and terror, its presence a testament to the ingenuity and desperation of the human spirit. Elena stood before it, her heart pounding in her chest as she prepared to take the final step. "This is it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped her. We open it, we face whatever's on the other side, and we find a way to stop it. Commander Patel nodded, his expression grim. Do it. Elena took a deep breath, her fingers hovering over the controls. The room fell silent, the tension reaching a fever pitch as she activated the gateway. The air seemed to crackle with energy, the very fabric of reality bending and twisting as the portal began to open. A blinding light filled the room, forcing everyone to shield their eyes as the gateway came to life. And then, suddenly, it was there, the other side. A vast alien landscape stretched out before them, its colors and shapes defying description. It was a place of unimaginable beauty and horror, a place where the laws of physics as they knew them no longer applied. But it wasn't empty. Something was moving, something vast and ancient and terrible. It was coming, and it was coming fast. Elena's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the full extent of the danger they were facing. This wasn't just a warning, it was a battle cry, and they were the only ones standing in its way. "We need to move," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "Now!" The team sprang into action, their efforts now focused on a single, desperate goal. They had opened the gateway, they had seen what lay beyond, and now they had to find a way to stop it. But as they prepared to face the unknown, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were already too late. That the thing on the other side was already here, and that the battle for survival had only just begun.